How we doing, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Wolf, and welcome to my League starter for Blight League. It's going to be RF Totems. Now, this is going to mark 2 leagues I've League started as Righteous Fire, but I guess the last time I tried to do it on my own character, and I tried to make it into like a weird discharger type of thing. Didn't really pan out. But this time we're going for something I've always wanted to really try and never got the opportunity to play. And that is RF Totems, considering the changes they made to the Chieftain Ascendency to allow you to get your totems immune to fire damage basically after doing your first Izaro. You're able to play RF Totems pretty much from the get-go. And I've gone through about as many incarnations of this as possible. I've been working on it for I'd say about 6 hours or so, and this is as high as I could possibly get DPS. Now, this is also in a perfect world on a singular totem. You can have 4 totems maximum, and this is what the evolved Righteous Fire totem looks like. Yeah, I mean, obviously this is the creme de la creme build, but that DPS is pretty fucking good, is it not? Now, there is one thing that I need to tell you about before we do get into this, which is that I've been reading through the development manifesto, and it mentions Righteous Fire. This is a pain in the ass because I am currently just a little bit ahead of patch notes. I don't know exactly what day they come out, but yeah. Now, with that being said, it doesn't necessarily look to make any changes or make the build any worse. Also, I don't know how quickly Path of Building is going to be updated, so we'll see. But essentially, all it really says is that they've reviewed Righteous Fire and they've changed a couple things, and I will read you this little box here, as well as this one here, and then we will get into the build. So they said that many passives that increased burning damage, poison damage, or bleeding damage now have equivalent damage over time multiplier bonuses. They've all been rebalanced as a result. We've also added a new cluster that adds stuff for ignites and all this sort of stuff. Now, that being said, they also have new item modifiers and crafting modifiers that apply to fire damage over time multiplier. RF damage. Yeah, that's craftable RF damage. That's more than just the scepter that here, I'll show you what I put on the scepter for the fucking weapon. It's literally, if it would show up, just LE damage and percent fire. So I can get more than that through crafts. That would be kind of cool. But there's that. And then they said, as a result of all these burning changes, we've reviewed all burning damage skills and adjusted values. Righteous Fire in particular has received some mechanical changes. It now deals a smaller portion of your health as fire damage to enemies around you. I'm going to assume it's probably gone down to about 30% from 40%, but has an additional burning damage value that increases as the gem levels. The goal of this change is to provide more power for builds that don't invest as heavily in maximum life, and slightly less power in builds that invest the majority of their resources into getting larger values of life. Now, what does this mean? It means that, funnily enough, this number is going to go up, because my totems only have, I think, like 4 or 5k health. I don't know the exact way to check this, or to check the totem HP. I remember looking at it at some point. I don't know exactly. But yeah, because of that, that means that my RF actually, the damage on it scales lower. Because to do RF builds, you want as much life as possible. I've seen some with like 10k when they're fully rigged up. And because it dealt damage based off your maximum HP, you would do more burning damage and more fire damage with 10k HP and a bunch of fire mods than you would with a bunch of fire mods and 5k HP. And they're kind of lowering that to, I'm going to guess, about 30% of your life as damage. If we look at Righteous Fire for the gem here, it says enemies burn for 40% of your max life per second as fire. I'm going to assume that's going down to about 30-ish. If they go any lower, we'll see what happens. But as a result, that means that Righteous Fire on a lower health character, about a 5k health character, logistically, if they don't fuck it up, should get more damage, and you should be able to play about 5k health-ish RF characters with good results. You don't need to go to 7 or 8k HP to get some majestic damage, which means you can invest more into fire damage and that sort of stuff, utility, defenses, which is something that I like. What this also means for the totem build that I'm playing right now is that this damage is looking to go up, because my totem HP is already on the kinda low side, and as a result, that just means that them shifting more of the damage to the burning multiplier portion means my damage just goes higher. On top of that, they're adding all of the new burning damage multiplier stuff into the skill tree, which I don't know exactly where it's going to be. I don't know what nodes are going to be where, and we can review that when the time comes when I'm making the build guide. But for the moment, the build is looking to get actually buffed in patch notes. So all in all, that is just exceptional. With that being said, let's actually dive into the build itself, all the things that I've put together, and some of the changes and things that I kind of have to get in-game and test to see if I can push it even farther. Because essentially the biggest thing about this is playing RF as a totem is a little bit odd, because you need to link it to spell totem, right? Which then we make the spell totems immune to fire damage, so then they don't kill themselves, and they can stay up pretty much permanently, which results in some pretty fucking insane dot DPS if you can do everything correctly. Now the thing is RF doesn't have a mana cost. You see where I'm getting at here. RF takes a percentage of your life, like just in general, which means I don't know if it's going to take a percentage of my life when I place the totem. I don't know if the totem is going to cost 0. I don't know if it's going to take 30% or 40% of the totem's HP. I don't know. But if it takes 40% of the totem's HP and the totem's immune to fire damage, it's going to take no damage. Right, you'd think. This is all the interactions of Path of Exile. This is why I love this game so much. We're going to have to get in game and see what happens there. But that means that if the totems do actually cost 0, then we can do things a little bit differently and optimize this tree a little differently. So I'm going to showcase the current tree right now, and then I'll show you some of the changes you can make and some of the shenanigans that you can do with this. So to start off, we come out the life, get as much life as possible, get Warrior's Blood, go straight up for Primal Manifestation, come straight up and go through here for Amplify, get some AoE. AoE is very important. Cut down and through Devotion. You can go through Jewel Socket as well if you find a very good jewel. And go straight to Ancestral Bond. This is going to be your first rush node to get you your second totem while leveling, because you can't get third and fourth totems until a lot later into the game at the Shaper's Shield and a Soul Mantle. Excuse me. Now, from there, you can go to Elemental Overload. The way we're going to proc Ele Overload is through Orb of Storms with increased crit, or Flame Dash having a very small crit chance as well. If you don't feel like doing that sort of thing, this is more for bossing, if anything. Orb of Storms will proc Ele Overload on bosses, and Flame Dash will proc it on trash mobs. The reason RF can't proc it itself is it has no hit component. It's only a damage over time effect. So as a result, that means you can't proc Ele Overload with just playing RF. This is where Shield Charge used to be really nice, but Shield Charge is kind of fucking weird right now and does not play very well. You could use Leap Slam because we are using a Scepter and a Shield, so maybe I take that route. I go Leap Slam with Fortify and Endurance Charge on Melee Stun. Maybe, because I don't have a Warcry in here just yet. I know it's a Wolfian build, I'm not using a Warcry, it's a miracle. But still, that's your next rush node. Then we come down, get Shamanistic Fury for totem damage, and then we can go up, get fire damage, get all the fire here, and then get some life here. Extra damage, doesn't really matter. Extra damage there, get the AoE here. AoE is very big. Now keep in mind, the one thing to note when you're looking at Path of Building is this is an AoE node, it gives you increased AoE, but it doesn't do anything. it doesn't give you +1 AoE radius. You see, you come over here and you take out this node, it gives you -1 AoE radius. So you might be taking some AoE nodes that aren't giving you any benefits. So do keep an eye out for that and use Path of Building to kind of sort that thing out when you're looking for exact amounts of AoE radius. Yeah, keep an eye on that one. And then we pick up extra damage through Divine Judgment for damage pen, as well as burning and elemental damage. We get some AoE in Explosive Impact. We get some damage in Holy Fire. Get some extra life and Chaos Res in here. And these exact paths are the ones you want to take, by the way. I've mathed them out for which one does the highest DPS. This is the best paths on all of the above. Like I said, I spent a lot of time working through this to then get told RF's getting slightly changed. But from what I read, they're probably just adding like damage over time multipliers onto like the burning damage nodes, right? Which I take all the burning damage nodes anyways, so if they're adding those in, then the damage is just gonna go up. So that is intriguing, if anything. Now, your endgame of endgame nodes is going to be Whispers of Doom to apply an additional curse. And then another node that you want to rush semi-early. So what I would do for leveling is I would go straight for Ancestral Bond, straight to LA Overload, so you can kill bosses and stuff faster with an Orb of Storm setup. Then, after that, you want to make sure you get Primal Manifestation and Shamanistic Fury, maybe an AoE node here or there for RF stuff. Get your burning damage to get good totem damage. Then you want to rush down here and get Ironwood. Reason being, totem life, which is the biggest damage increasers currently. That may change with the proposed changes they've laid out for us, where they shift it more towards the fire multiplication side. Maybe they're not as valuable, but these are the only totem life nodes in the game. And you might be wondering why I'm not playing this Hierophant or anything like that. For one reason, I don't like playing Templar. I just don't like an old man in a kilt waddling around with a stick in the wrong hand. But also because of Moon Presence makes it so your totems are immune to fire damage, which is how we make this whole build work in the first place. Otherwise, your totems will kill themselves very fucking quickly. That's for sure. That is pretty much most of the tree. Now, in regards to really pushing as far as you can, this is about as much as I can really do, at least for Solar Cell Found type of things. If you really want to push out damage, there's a Jewel Spire of Stone here, which increases totem life per 10 strength allocated in radius. Totems cannot be stunned. The stun thing, I don't know how much that really affects it, because RF doesn't turn off when you get stunned, but the totem life per 10 strength, you can optimize that around like a perfectly allocated node. This isn't bad. You get 1, 2, 3. You can go like 4 there, maybe 5 if that fits the radius, and you see what I mean, right? You can optimize around that, or 1, 2, 3, 4. You got 4 there, you got 4 there. What else we got? That's intelligence. You kind of see what I mean though, right? So if you want to push like higher damage in a trade league, that's where you want to go for that. Now, where you get a lot of extra damage is in the curses, right? So obviously I've inflated it slightly so that when people look at the build, they go, oh my god, that's high as fuck. That's the things you gotta do for YouTube videos nowadays, right? So realistically, this is about the DPS you're looking at, because we're not going to have Ellie Weakness up 24/7, because we're getting it with Curse on Hit Flame Dash, which is a little awkward for, you know, pack mobbing and all that sort of stuff. But this is boss DPS. This is more of your mobbing DPS, because we're going to have Flammability Blasphemed, so that'll be up pretty much 24/7, and then Malevolence will give you damage over time effect, and then Orb of Storms proccing your LA Overload to give you that much extra damage. Where you can really push this, if you really want to, will be after testing like in-game how the totem mana cost works. Because if it does cost 0, then we can change things. Then we can change out a couple of nodes, switch out a few things. We're level 96 right now, but you can take out some life, some defenses, that sort of stuff. And you can pick up Champion of the Cause. Watch my mana reserve here, right? We can pick up mana reserve reduction there. We can come up here, pick up mana reserve reduction here. And then that's about as good as we can really get. If you want to really try and push it, you can look for mana reduced reserve here, but I don't think that's really worth. Now, the reason I say that is this allows you to put on this Blasphemade. You can blaspheme the elemental weakness. However, you're going to have 0 mana. Literally 0 mana. Now, does that mean you're fucked? Not exactly. Because you're going to be able to cut out the curse on hit area weakness, so you just put in Blood Magic on Flame Dash. And you cut out the Arcane Surge because you're not going to be using mana, and you switch this to Blood Magic as well. And then you have a double Blasphemy, area weakness, flammability. So hopefully those of you who are actually listening to my voice and aren't watching just the build and just the numbers change kind of know what I mean when I talk about all that sort of stuff. I know it is kind of deeper and more in depth and all that sort of stuff. But if you're going to take that route as well, grab Skittering Runes, because this will increase the effect of both of your curses by 15% and 20% because of this node as well. That will give you a massive damage increase if you do take that sort of route. In regards to survivability and life, characters should be okay, because we're at 4k with, you know, a average chest piece, because, you know, we got Soul Mantle in. Soul Mantle isn't necessarily going to be there 24/7. You can go for a very high life chest piece as well, and you can get life rolls on everything else. I just put in damage and very light life rolls other than the shield. So you can get probably about 5k, pretty self-explanatory, pretty easily. Flask-wise, I don't know that there's really that much. A well-resistanced Wise Oak would be able to give you some extra damage. What else is there? Maybe something with Frenzy Charges, because Frenzy Charges does increase damage for some weird fucking reason, I don't know. But if you can get Frenzy Charges somewhere, that is spectacular for damage-wise. Onslaught for movement speed, Adrenaline, Quicksilver, and a... what is it? Granite Flask. Granite Flask. The other thing that I want to tell you is that if you have a curse-removing Flask, whenever your totems are dying from Soul Mantle, because keep in mind, when your totems die with Soul Mantle, you get a level 20 curse on you when your totems die. If you use a curse remove flask, or a flask that makes you curse immune, even if you have all curses on you, you can just snap them off and they're all gone. So because of that, you want to roll something like that, and it's going to be one of my very early rolls. I put it on my Onslaught Flask personally because I'm pressing Onslaught and my Adrenaline Quicksilver at the same time. If you're curious how I set up my flasks, it's life, Onslaught, Adrenaline Quicksilver, Granite of Freeze Removal, and Adrenaline Quicksilver number 2. Or, actually, Bleed Flask. Yeah, it's Bleed Flask normally. I put Bleed Flask on 3, and then Adrenaline Quicksilver on 5. If I don't manage an Adrenaline, if I don't manage a Bleed Remove Life Flask. That's the God roll for me. But sometimes that doesn't really happen. But that is my run through so far. Most of this stuff is pretty much rigged up. You have the 2 weapon slots available. You have the 3 link in the weapon and the 3 link in the shield. What I would do and what I'm going to do is probably Enduring Cry, most likely. And then cast when damage taken, Stone Golem, which is pretty self-explanatory for the way I play. And then a defensive skill, most likely. I'm not too sure if I go Steel Skin or if I go Immortal Call, because Endurance Charges is not really reliable entirely. Maybe if I use Enduring Cry, because I didn't take Instant War Cries, so it's not going to be as reliable in that regard. Still going to be possible, though. Still definitely possible. And as a result, that maybe makes Immortal Call that much better. If not, I'm going to be opting for Steel Skin, so we don't have to deal with the Enduring Cry, Endurance Charge type bullshit. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the build. That's all she wrote. Now, coming over to the Ascendency, before I fully round us off, you want Moon Presence first, at like fucking 25 if you can. Tugahama's War Herald is really good as well. This is a very good leveling node. The only real reason is the increased AoE, and the damage dealt by your totems is leached to you as life. Keep in mind, we have 4 totems. Now, those of you who have been watching for a long time know I absolutely adore totem builds, and have been messing around with Vol Ancestral War Chief that lets you break the totem cap. I don't know if Vol RF totems lets you do that as well. If it does, we're going to have 5 totems with one that does a fuckload of damage, and that's going to be really fun. So I'll update you on that one, if you can break the totem cap with Vol RF once the league starts. I hope so. I have no idea, but I hope so. So I'll keep you updated on that. And then Ramako's Sunlight is really the only other node that gives us damage. Now, you can get damage out of covering them in ash. You can get, like, you can inflate the DPS number by that much more. You can cover them in ash, of course. But the chances they get covered in ash is very fucking low. You have 20% chance to cover an enemy in ash on hit. Now, on a hit, it might apply for Orbital Storms. If I'm being entirely honest, that might apply. But I don't know if it has to be fire damage, right? So, it just says on hit, so logistically, you can go that route. I think it's the only really available route. You can go defenses here. You can go a little bit of dot damage here. This isn't really worthwhile. You can't reach it anyways. And the Gamu's Flame Advance does pretty much nothing. The only extra DPS is from the fire node there. If you want to be that guy, you can go here. But, like, is that really worth it? I don't think so. So, Death Fury is probably your last point. Ramako's Sunlight is really good for damage, pens 15% of Ellie res, because that counts as RF, because it doesn't say it has to hit, right? So your fire damage penetrates 15% more. We have another 4% pen there, and I think there's another pen node somewhere. There's another 1% pen there, if you want to take that route as well, which gives us 20% fire pen, which is grand. And then, yeah, so if you're able to proc Death Fury with the Ash from Orbital Storms, then I need to test that myself when we actually get into the league. You can turn on Ash, and that's what our DPS number looks like. Obviously, I have taken like all this extra fucking shit, but that one, and I put an extra node in somewhere. I don't fucking know where. But yeah, that's pretty much what the build looks like. There's the extra one. That is min-maxed of min-maxed in regards to everything else. Itemization, I have a Tiki, I was going to try and say this, it's Namahu Tiki, I think, amulet, which gives us increased fire damage, 60% is fantastic. Hrimnor's is the best helmet for the build, giving you some good dot damage. There was some messing around I was doing with a bone helmet, but it didn't really fly. You don't necessarily have to use this, of course. I also don't know if the Frozen or Chilled, if you used a fire skill recently, applies on the helmet, but it will, or applies on the totem, but it will apply on Flame Dash, which will make you unable to be frozen or chilled, which means you can potentially drop the Granite Flask freeze, which I probably still won't do, but it's a possibility if you want to take that route. In regards to rings, opals are very good, pyres are better. But obviously pyres you can't manually fucking roll, can you? I gotta type it in here because it's not showing up right now. Pyres will give you 20k DPS over perfectly rolled opals. So if you want to take the cheaper route, or you're not playing in solo self-found, you can go double pyre, but of course you can't get life, you can't get your own wanted resistances, that sort of stuff on those. You also can't craft the betrayal crafts for AoE or anything like that on these, but if you want to go full DPS, double pyres is the way to go. But you do need to be careful about your resists, because you'll have the shield, gloves, and boots for your resist, as well as belt. So that's going to be a little hard, but I think it is doable. I have done it with less gear. So logistically, that's pretty much everything that I've discovered and looked through. In regards to anything else, I mean, I don't really want to do any other like uniques other than this, because obviously I'm planning for SSF. But Spire of Stone, if I can manage to get one of these somehow, I don't really know. That's 36k just for slotting it in here. That's logistically the best I can get, aside from maybe a perfectly rolled like Totem AoE jewel or something like that. That's what I'm going to be kind of fishing for. There's no Abyss jewels on this character that I can think of that really work very well. Maybe if I want really good damage and I roll really well, I pop up here for the 2-point jewel socket there, or the 2-point jewel socket here. I can get maybe 30k if I get god rolls, and those would only be 2 points as opposed to other 2 points that are like maybe 10k. Depends on the rolls. But yeah, that is my league starter. That is my RF Totems Chieftain. And of course, the path of building for this character will be in the description. Hopefully, for those of you paying attention and notice the background is different, I am moved into my new place now. We are calling the internet guys tomorrow, so hopefully I can get an internet upgrade by league launch so I can stream this character. If not, you will be seeing updates on it whenever I do get my internet updated, because I will be playing on league start and I will be playing this character pretty much all fucking day. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys enjoy the character and the league, and let me know your opinions on what you're going to be league starting with. I don't know when this is going to be coming out exactly, because I don't know how fast I can upload videos. That's going to be fun to figure out. So if this comes out on league start day, let me know what you're starting with, fellas. But that's going to be all from me, and as always, take care, gentlemen.